from the Las Vegas Strip studio in gorgeous Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Brad Stein. You're watching Bettor Center live on bettorcenter.com. You can watch us 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on bettorcenter.com, hosted by Louis Diamond. But today, I'm the host, Brad Stein. Thank you very much for joining. We are down one sports handicapper. That means we have three, but we get professional information and guidance to help make us a little bit of money, have some fun. But we also have a very special guest. His name is Paul Bovi. He's going to cover a little pigskin. And a little bit later, the man on the street is somewhere in Buffalo. Where is he? What is he doing? We're going to find out all that information and a little bit more. Now it's time to find out what the guys learned. Ross, it's very interesting. The redhead is gone today. He's not here. Every time a Carolina team loses, he somehow has a dental appointment or a doctor's appointment or, guys, I have to go somewhere. It's always something. What did you learn?
Yeah. I learned that the Carolina Panthers ain't as good as the 3-1 start they got off to. And and maybe the Atlanta Falcons are a little better than that 1-6 team that we saw going into last night, especially when their defense has shown a little bit of improvement like it has the last couple of weeks. Boy, I'm not too good at that Southern drawl, but I tried. Anyway, that's what I learned.
That was good.
Yeah.
All right, Chip, what did you learn? 31st ranked defense overtook and pressured Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers on the road.
It was a nice winner for us last night. Very happy about that. What I did learn about this Atlanta team is that the Falcons still are dirty birds. This team plays nasty. They late hit. I just don't like their style of play at all. They've got a great offense. They move the ball. But I don't think there's much future for the Falcons. I really don't. In spite of the win last night, I think they're a dirty team.
Louis, dirty, lucky. What do you have?
Well, I got to kind of agree with Chip there a little bit. Oh, boy, that was pretty bad. Yeah, they played a little bit dirty last night, and they got themselves a win. But I learned that even when you got an under and it's not looking very good, sometimes the clock can be your friend. And the clock ran out on us, and we cashed a nice little ticket on that under last night. So I learned to just be patient and ride that game out. I learn that every day, though.
Well, thank you, Louis Bag of Diamonds. Eugene, let's take a minute to highlight our handicappers on our special video right now.
I think the Falcons rise. As a matter of fact, I think they won 5 of the last 6 times they played at Carolina. So I'm going to take the Dirty Birds.
And I certainly won't be going against you right now, Chip. You are on fire. The under has hit 11-3-1 the last 15, 12-3-2 in Carolina.
If you put the proverbial gun in my head, I probably would have a small lean toward Atlanta here, only because they've played a really tough schedule and they've blown a couple games they should have won.
And you could be a winner too, right here on bettorcenter.com. Just follow along, louisdiamond.com, chipwins.com, rbwins.com, even the greatwhitecapperwins.com. All of us right here at bettorcenter.com. Also, check out Facebook and YouTube at Louis Diamond. Let's go to game number 1. You ready, guys? Game number 1. That's why we're here, to learn how to bet properly and to get some picks. Eastern Carolina at Tulsa. 60.5 is the over-under. Tulsa minus 17.5. A lot of points. Let's start with Louis Diamond.
Well, first I got to give Tony Gullidge a little credit for them Falcons last night as well. I know it didn't make the cut, but I remember saying that Tony had Atlanta, and I gave it to him because Tony couldn't make the show yesterday. So nice little Tony as well. So we really had a nice day again yesterday with the Atlanta and under, and I think we're going to do it again here today. This game, got to believe Tulsa has to have a nice little edge here today. It is a long-awaited home opener for Tulsa right now. And I just think that you have two teams that are kind of going, not kind of, they're two teams in the opposite direction. 17 is quite a large number. So what I did is I teased down Tulsa. I think they'll probably cover the 17, but I did use Tulsa in a teaser here today.
Chip.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
Well, I do have a game I like tonight on Friday night. It's not this one. 17-point favorites aren't exactly my specialty. But East Carolina is so weak, and Tulsa can put points on the board. I think if I had to play, I would play the Golden Hurricane.
Chip, look what I'm reading. This is for you. I'm reading
Well,
all
you can't
about
make that
you.
up.
You can't make this stuff up. It's
You can't make this
unbelievable.
up. No.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
I got to pay him more money now.
They do. They really
What
do.
money?
Yeah.
Not from us. RB wins. Who do you like? Game number 1.
If all else fails, you got a future in comedy, Brad. Anyway, I don't have a play in this game, but let me just say this. This is one of those games the reason why I wouldn't take is because East Carolina is, or you said Eastern Carolina. It's East Carolina, Brad. 17.5 points is the kind of game that you can get a backdoor cover in. So if I had to have a real tiny lean in this game, I would take the points here with East Carolina plus the 17.5 against Tulsa.
Why, thank you. That moves us to game number 2 as we're moving along here on a beautiful Friday morning. Minnesota at Maryland. This game opened up minus 17.5 Minnesota. It is currently at minus 20. Over under opened at 62.5, which is now 61. We'll start right with you, Ross. What about this game?
I'm going to have a lean toward going under the total in this game. Again, it's not a game I'm using tonight, but if you want my opinion on it, I think that Maryland will have a tough time putting points up on the board. I know that Minnesota's defense struggled against Michigan last week, but it's a whole different animal between Michigan to Maryland, who's a terrible Big Ten team, probably will finish last in the Big Ten this year. And Minnesota's not an explosive offense. They're pretty methodical. So I'm going to go under the total of 61. Back to you, Brad.
Chipster, game number 2. Are you playing? Or are you sitting?
Well, this isn't one of my plays. I mean, look what Maryland's done. And Minnesota last week was the hot play among everyone and sit there and got annihilated by Michigan. Now they come up virtually a 3-touchdown favorite. That shows you how bad the Terrapins are. Minnesota had lost a lot of players to attrition last year, and 7 players, I think, off the defense alone. I don't expect them to be a powerhouse this year, but Maryland is so bad. I mean, how is this team a 3-touchdown favorite after the performance they put on last week against Michigan? I don't like the game. I wouldn't play it at all, but I would lay it before I take it, honestly.
A lot of points, Louis Diamond. I see your strategic mind planning something. What is it?
Yeah. Once again, this is a tough number. It's a big number against a team, for a team that just got blown out. Now, as Ross alluded to, certainly 2 different ball clubs between, their opponents, Michigan and Maryland. But at the end of the day, that's just a lot of points to be laying on the road right now. You certainly can't back Maryland in a scenario because home underdog, maybe you're thinking, no, they're 8-20. Their last 28 games as an underdog. They're 1-5 against the number overall. Just a real tough spot. But the teaser is available, guys. So if you're looking for a little action, maybe a little teaser on the favorites again. But listen, there's always edge in a teaser, but really you look for teasers in the NFL. But if you're looking for a little action tonight, I would say a couple favorites on the teaser might start looking like a little bit of a play for you. Back to you, Brad.
Thank you, Louis Diamond. That brings us to game number 3, Hawaii at Wyoming. Game opened up with a 56.5 over-under. It is currently at 60, so it did move. Wyoming plus 1.5. They are now minus 1. Louis D, we're going to stay with you on this game.
Listen, 3 games tonight, and they're really all kind of garbage games. They're very hard to make a decision and make a play here tonight. Now, Hawaii comes in. We talked about it yesterday. They run the ball for the first time, and who knows how many years. Is this really their team? If it is, I got to give an edge to the under because Wyoming is by far a dead under team. They get involved in unders no matter no matter where their scenario is. And if that's the case, so if Hawaii's going to come out running the ball here today, I got to feel that there's an edge on the under. And 6-2 to the under for Wyoming. Their last 8 games overall, 19-7 to the under in the conference game. So I got to believe the under has some edge here.
Okie dokie, Chip. I have to ask you. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, Brad. This is the game I like tonight, and I'm going to take the Cowboys, and I'll tell you why. I don't mean the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, we're talking about Wyoming. The differential between where these two teams play is the biggest disparity in all of college sports. We have a team that plays in a humid environment on an island where they're at sea level, and now they're at 7,165 feet in Laramie, and they are not going to be greeted with friendly arms. Wyoming is 11-2 in the last 13 home openers. They opened on the road. They got beat by Nevada in overtime. And this club seems to, by the way, I called the University of Hawaii, believe it or not, to find out if the Rainbows had traveled back to Hawaii. They stayed in the mainland the entire week after beating Fresno last week. And it was their running game, not their passing game, like we've mentioned. That's for you, Ross. That dominated last week against Fresno. And of course, last night, Fresno bounced back with a big win for us. I think the home team here is the way to go. The Rainbows, like I said, they've been on the road this whole time. Maybe that develops some camaraderie, but I just think Wyoming's in a great spot to take them. I don't like necessarily that they move to the favorite. Maybe that's because some people know what they're doing.
Ross, your buddy's playing this game, so I know you are, right?
I have a paid selection on this game. It's on the total. So if you want that pick, you got to go to rbwins.com, $35. I have the winner in this game, and it comes on a total, like I said. But you know what? If I got to pick a side, I agree with Chipper. Hawaii, I just can't see them winning 2 in a row on the road. It's been a long time, I think, since that's occurred. I may be mistaken, but again, you got a Wyoming team coming off an overtime loss at Nevada and coming back home against a Hawaii team coming off a road win. So I just think once in a while you have to zig when you instead of zagging, and zag when you should zig. And this is one of those situations I think applies here. I'm going to go with Wyoming here, Brad, at home against Hawaii.
Sounds good to me. Excellent points by Chip Chirimbes, one of our great resident sports handicappers. That moves us to game number 4, and this could be one of the biggest games, at least in the Big Ten here. Ohio State at Penn State, and they're going whiteout in this game. Opened up -9.5 Ohio State. It is now -11.5. Penn State blew that game last week. Unbelievable. 61.5 entered the over-under. It is now currently at 64. Let's start with you, Ross. What are your thoughts on the big game in the Big Ten?
Well, Penn State, this is a team that's only been a home underdog 3 times since 2016. They've covered all 3. They won 2 of those 3. And actually, the last 2 times they were a home underdog, it's been against Ohio State. So they've done well in this situation. Look, Penn State last week, they lost that game 36-35, but they outgained Indiana 489 to 211 by 278 yards. But they were plagued by 3 turnovers. A big blunder at the end when they scored a touchdown when the kid should have kneeled down and just ended the game. But anyway, and then Ohio State looked just terrific last week. I just can't believe the quarterback, Fields, is going to have another 21 for 22 day or 20 for 21, whatever he was. Real difficult to not take the Nittany Lions here in this spot, getting double digits at home against, a very good Ohio State team, but I think Penn State's going to step up to the plate in this game, Brad. I'm going to take them plus the points.
Ooh, I like that. Gutsy. James Franklin has a propensity for blowing some fourth quarter leads at Penn State. Let's see what happens. All right, let's get Chip Chirimbes on this game. You agree with your buddy?
Ohio State, Fields comes out 20 of 21. I mean, I don't expect that to happen. We know that it'd be an anomaly for a quarterback to come out of Ohio State and be proficient when he reaches the NFL. But there's a few things about this game that kind of bother me. Penn State not only lost their top running back from last year, now they've lost their top backup. But, There were more than three. There were more than 3 turnovers last week for the Nittany Lions. There were 3 missed field goals and 10 penalties. That's 6. I don't know how they could possibly have overcome that. They didn't. I mean, Ross gave some incredible numbers about the advantage they had yardage-wise. Indiana had 41 rushing yards. I mean, give me a break. Penn State dominated that game so much. To come away with a loss, they were heartbroken. I hate to see this number so high. I would actually like to see this number a little bit lower, where they would think that Penn State be a little bit more competitive in this game. But to me, it doesn't matter. I have to take the Nittany Lions here at home with the points. I'm sure those cardboard cutouts are going to give a lot of support for the Nittany Lions here. I'm taking Penn State at home.
Louis Diamond, are you buying this? The Nittany Lions? No,
I'm not. Your whiteout is, when it's at the bottom of the barrel and you got to put it over there and it doesn't cover up everything. That's the kind of whiteout you're going to get here tomorrow. So it's, Penn State has running game issues right now. They're on their 3rd string running back here tomorrow. That has to play into a factor. They're not going to be able to establish any kind of running game. I got to believe Ohio State is probably a decent play, but I know, and you know what's coming next, that Ohio State's a good play on the teaser. Absolutely. So I think they'll probably cover the number. I think Penn State's I think they're going to be outmatched and outclassed tomorrow, and it's going to show. And so I'm going to be on Ohio State at minimum on the teaser, probably on the side.
All right, fair enough. Some varying opinions right here on Bettor Center, bettorcenter.com, also louisdiamond.com, and Facebook, of course. All right, we are going to go to our special guest right now. His name is Paul Bovi. He is not part of Bon Jovi, but some people think he is. Anyways, he is a pigskin expert. He's going to talk a little football, so let's bring him in right now. Paul, welcome to Bettor Center Live. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I felt like the forgotten stepchild here, and I want to know if Chip called Hawaii collect, and if he really did call Hawaii.
Probably an email.
Newspaper, as a matter of fact, Paulie.
Call?
We have cell phones. Everything's free, isn't it?
All right. Okay. Good answer, Chip.
Hey, nice background, Paul.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I got a nice
looks
little
like a horse's ass over there.
And I actually have 2 screens that you can't even see. So I got 7 on a Sunday. I'm set.
There you go. That's the way. I got 8, but I never get to the 8th one.
All right.
And 7
8's
just
enough.
great. I thought it was a great thing at first, but I get fucking dizzy by the end of the day. I'm like, holy shit. But you know what? It brings you the information that we need. And it takes this to understand what's going on. Nice setup.
Well, I'm used to multitasking. I used to shave and tie my tie in the car and put my pants on. So I'm used to kind of doing multiple things at once. So the 7 works out, but I think if I went to 8, it would be problematic. So I agree with you there.
Good odd number. All right, Paul, let's hit it up. You have 2 NFL games you want to talk about. What do you have for us first?
Well, first of all, I want to just comment on that Atlanta game because I did have the team total last night, and I felt very flattered because I got a dime off at the Hilton at 23.5 minus 20, and they went right to 24.5 and right through the key number. But I think Atlanta is not going to admit they're wrong. And one of the toughest things in life is to admit you're wrong because Todd Gurley, they're going to have to bite the bullet on him. They completely whiffed. This guy is 126 carries for 410 yards if you take out that first Carolina game where he ran 14 times for $121. Last night, 18 for 46. They continued to try to pound him. It wasn't working. One of those runs was for 11 yards, by the way. So if you take that out, it's 2 yards a carry. So Atlanta's got to move on from Todd Gurley, and they got to start playing Brian Hill if they want to win more football games. Now, as far as not admitting you're wrong, I stepped in on the Bengal-Titan game over at the beginning of the week, and I have to admit I was wrong on it because what happened is the number went to 55. I played it at 54.5. I felt like a genius. And now the number has come down, but before it plummeted to 52.5, I was able to get out and actually take more on the under at this point. So I'm weighted on the under. And the reason is this: Joe Burrow has been sacked 28 times in 7 games. Now, for the mathematically challenged, that's 4 sacks a game. He's taken a number of hits, and now you have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 offensive linemen that are in question here, including the left tackle, Jonah Williams, center Hopkins with a concussion, and the right tackle, Hart, who has a knee problem. And then they get back a cornerback in Williams, who was not in the game last week when Baker Mayfield went off for 21 straight completions en route to that Cleveland win. So you've also got factored in inclement weather over in Cincinnati, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. So this is a case where I was on the wrong side at the beginning, but I feel I'm on the right side. The game, for quite a few reasons, should go under the number. This is a terrible spot for Tennessee after having played Buffalo, overtime win against the Texans, and then last week that disappointing loss courtesy of a Gostkowski miss, which would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. So I feel this game is going to go under the total.
All right, thanks, Paul. Before you go to game number 2, let's just get some opinions, if they want to give any opinions, from our resident handicappers, starting with Louis Bag of Diamonds.
Well, I would have to say, you know me, I'm you always throwing when it comes to Joey Burrow, and I have a tough time backing him here this week as well. But I got to worry that Tennessee, if they're going to actually be ready, for this opponent. I mean, they had a big loss last week, and now, I don't know if I really want to lay the points here either. So I think the under I think Paul is definitely on to something with the under, because I don't think Burrow is going to be lighting anything up here. But I just worry about laying the points on the road. But I'm going to agree with Paul on the under here. I think the under might have a little bit of steam here.
Ross, Titans -5.5. Any thoughts?
I like the points here. I'm going to take Cincinnati plus the 5.5. Tennessee coming off a game against one of the most physical teams in football, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. They came back from 27-7 down in the second half to make it 27-24, and then ultimately lose in heartbreaking fashion when Gostkowski misses that field goal with less than 10 seconds to play. How will they recover from that? Now they're going on the road to take on a 1-5-1 team in the Cincinnati Bengals. One thing that gets overlooked with Tennessee, they get a lot of accolades, and rightfully so, for their start to the year. But by the same token, you look at their defensive numbers, they're giving up 25 points a game, and that could be a lot worse. Because if you look at what they're giving up total yards-wise, close to 400 yards, and the only reason why those numbers aren't worse is they've been beneficiaries of opposing offenses turning the ball over 12 times against them. Cincinnati, you look at them, and it's sort of a bit of an opposite bag there, where their points per game offensively isn't indicative of how they move the ball. So I think Cincinnati is going to be able to move the ball in this game. I can't believe that Tennessee is going to be as emotionally as stoked as they were last week in a battle of two undefeated teams. I think when you play a physical team like Pittsburgh, like you did the week before, it's going to take your toll on you, especially when you got to go on the road in a game that you're supposed to win. I'm going with Cincinnati here, Brad, plus the 5.5. Buy it up to 6 against the Tennessee Titans.
Chip, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think Paul Bovi made some really good points, and he was referring to the under. But I'm thinking that, like Ross, that the problem here for Tennessee is the games they're coming off of. They posted 4 wins by a total, I believe it was 8 points, and the combined records of the teams they defeated was somewhere around 8-22. So I'm waiting for Tennessee to actually come up in a dry spot here. I'm looking for them to have a little letdown after the Steelers, and most teams are beat up after they played the Steelers. But the factors that Paul gave for the total to stay under are the same reasons I like Cincinnati to win the game.
All right, we move to game number 2 for Paul Bovi. Who do you have?
I just want to chime in on this because all things being equal, I would agree with you guys wholeheartedly on the Bengals. The problem is the offensive line has been so porous, and this is the first unit. Now, I can't imagine how bad the second unit is, and you may be faced with the possibility of having 3 fill-in players here, including the center. And a lot of novice bettors tend to underestimate the importance of a center. I mean, there's a cohesiveness between him and the quarterback, and when that is lacking, especially with a first-year player like Joe Burrow, that could be an issue. So, in agreement, but with the variables that come into play, I would have to, in terms of a side, I'd have to take a pass. Now, as far as the second game, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to give out a team total in lieu of the side because it has to do with the Niners-Seattle game. And we all know and recognize, as does everybody, Seattle is woeful on defense. And the issue is Jamal Adams will not be back in the lineup this week, and they will lose Shaquille Griffin. Now, Shaquille Griffin, 34 tackles this year, 7 passes defended, and he is an anchor to an already, I'll use the word again, porous, depleted defense. So even though Jimmy G has lost quite a few weapons, Deebo Samuel went out earlier in the year. He's on the injured list again. Mostert went out. They had solid production from Wilson last week in the backfield. He is out. But Seattle, if you go to Seattle, by the way, they're down to a 4th-string running back because Carson Hyde are going to be out, as is the third back. But I think that San Francisco will be able to do what every other team has done against Seattle. I mean, the only time they have let up less than the team total here, which is 25.5, was 23 points to Miami, who actually frittered away a couple scoring opportunities, and 26 points to the all-world quarterback Kirk Cousins and those Minnesota Vikings. So I just feel even with limited weapons, Ayuk stepping up at the wide receiver position, as he did on Sunday with over 100 yards, they will be able to make some headway into this defense. The number is 3. Rather than take a stand against Russell Wilson, I'd rather take the stand against the Seattle defense and go with over the team total, 25.5, -14. I just laid it somewhere. I won't tell you where, but it wasn't in Vegas.
Ross. Those Seahawks can't lose any more defenders, can they?
Well, even when they're full strength, they're not very good on defense. Look, this is a Super Bowl offense, but this is a 3-13 defense, meaning a team that's 3-13. You want to know how bad they are, Paul? This is how bad they are. They have not held an opponent all year to less than 400 yards. As a matter of fact, they've given up 417 yards plus in each of their 6 games. So I've been harping on this right along. You can't continue to win games 37-34, 40-33, 38-31. Eventually, you're going to play a good defense that Russell Wilson's not going to be able to go off. And you saw last week, Russell Wilson was a little bit human in the second half of that game after passing for 250 in the first half of that game. I think he had like 75 yards passing in the second half. Plus, he turned the ball over 3 times via the interception and 1 at a crucial time in overtime. Now, that's nothing against Russell Wilson because this guy's carried him all year long. But I have a hard time taking Seattle as a favorite in any game, especially against a quality team, just based on the fact they can't stop anybody, Brad.
I agree. The Seahawks are going to struggle unless Russell Wilson is flawless, and he certainly wasn't flawless with those 3 interceptions. What do you think, Chip?
I think anytime I look to go against Russell Wilson, I end up standing alone somewhere, crying my eyes out. We did come up with a big win with Minnesota against them, and we came up with a win with Arizona against them. I'm wondering just how many times I can push this envelope. They're only a 3-point favorite at home, which I find very suspect. We have San Francisco, who's really run over the Patriots last week. If you saw that game, they were dominant. and San Francisco's supposed to have some injuries there. But like Russ said, this is the last ranked defense in the NFL. Are you going to put the onus on to Russell Wilson every single game? He's got to come up with something special. Really tough game for him to make a call right now. I tell you the truth, I haven't made a decision on this game, and I'm just going to weigh my options. I think I have a lot better winners in store on Sunday. Right now, I'm very suspect of this game because of the way San Francisco dominated the Patriots and because of the way Seattle seems to have come back to the pack. So right now, I really don't have anything on this one. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe if you give me a call Sunday, I'll have something for you.
I definitely will.
Woo. Louis, I have a lesson for you since you host shows on the weekend for me. Don't ever drink water when Chip is speaking. He started talking about betting against Russell Wilson being alone in the corner, and I have a very vivid imagination, and water went all over everything. Not good. Not good. A lot of expensive equipment over here. Let's get your thoughts.
I guess my thoughts. Russell, the little love muscle. I tell you what, he is not somebody I'm going to be betting against. But you know me, I'm going to take them Niners, the Seahawks over. But I love Paul's idea as well. The 49ers should be able to put the points on the board here this week. And it's probably something to be looking at throughout the rest of the season. Just the team point total against the Seahawks. We'll see what happens with the Seahawks. I don't want to bet on that right now, but I do want to bet on them over any way I can. And I'll bet against them when as far as team points. So I like what Paul offered here today. Thank you very much. Good opinion there, Paul. And I definitely will be playing it over. I'll be teasing it over. I'll be all over this game.
I got one more. Okay. Just to cement the futility of that defense. Cam Newton, 30 of 44 for 397. Enough said.
Okay. That is enough said. Let's go to Tony Cusimano, the man on the street. He is in Buffalo. Where exactly is he, and what is he about to say? We'll find out next. You're watching Bettor Center live on BettorCenter.com.
Thank you, Bettor Center. Tony C. here, your man on the street. In a windy Buffalo, New York today, I am in front of New Era Field, Bills Stadium, home of the Buffalo Bills, where the 5-2 Buffalo Bills will play host to the 2-4 New England Patriots. That's right, the 2-4 New England Patriots. They could possibly be 2-5 after this week, believe it or not. But it's not the same New England Patriots, and it isn't the same Buffalo Bills. But wait, or is it the same Buffalo Bills? Because granted, they are 5-2. Well, I'm not going to crown anyone prematurely here in the AFC East, and I'll tell you why. Look who the Bills have beaten to get to 5-2. They beat the New York Jets twice, and in Week 1 when they beat the Jets outscored them 14-6 in the second half. They also have wins against a 3-3 Raiders team and the Miami Dolphins, with losses coming, of course, against Kansas City and Tennessee, two division frontrunners. So are the Bills for real? Let's not crown anybody here yet. And you want to know who the pressure's on? The pressure is on this week, is on the Buffalo Bills to prove that they're for real. The Patriots have no pressure at all coming into this game whatsoever, with a line of +3.5 or 4 for the Patriots and 42.5. Again, that +3.5, 4 is where are you getting your line from? So really no pressure at all. The Patriots are going to come in their rebuilding session here, and they're just going to execute and possibly win a football game. It is a division rival. So with all of those factors, and let's not forget that the Patriots do run the ball very well. They're averaging 151 yards per game on the ground. So the pressure really is on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills that are 5-2. I mean, they haven't seen the likes of this since Marv Levy and Jim Kelly. So with that, guys, I'm going to throw it back to you. I want to get your feedback here. Where do the Bills stand? What are we going to look for in this game? Me personally, I'm going to stay away from the side. I think it's anyone's game here, since it's a division rival. But I really do like the under here. I think you're going to see a lot of clock control. The Patriots are going to run that ball with 151 yards average on the ground through their first 6 games. So tell me what you think, crew. Throwing it back to the studio. Tony C. here, your man on the street from Orchard Park, New York, greater Buffalo area. Bills at home versus the Patriots. Take it away, crew. I think we're going to see a hard-fought game here, and it's not going to be an easy win for the Bills if they get one. Take it away, crew.
Take it away, crew. Ross, I thought I saw J.P. Losman running in the background. I was thinking of you.
You're
remember
a
that
funny
guy?
J.P. Losman, man, that's bad
Funny
memories.
how.
Well, look, yeah, Tony, again, you make a good point about the strength of schedule, but you left out the fact they also beat the Rams at home. So that's a pretty good team, by the way. And
Yes.
Miami and Oakland, or Miami and Las Vegas are 3-3. Miami has proven to be a little better than people expected, and the Raiders have played probably, if not the toughest schedule, one of the toughest schedules. So they're a better than average 3-3 team. Having said that, I have a hard time pulling the trigger here, Chipper, so you can't call me a homer. Until I see the Buffalo Bills beat Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, I'm not going to be a believer until that happens. 35-5, the last 40 games New England has been against Buffalo. 35-5. That's 18-2 straight up and 15-5 against the spread at Buffalo. Now, of course, a lot better quarterback. Well, I guess Cam Newton's okay, but he hasn't played very well lately. And again, I can't back a team that's 0-3 straight up in ATS in their last 3 games like New England and just averaging 9 points per game. As far as the total, how it's come down a little bit, again, weather conditions might be a factor here. And remember, folks, when people start, and this is all no disrespect to anybody, you start talking about players out in weather conditions, if we know about it, the odds makers certainly do too. You got to determine the factor. When you see a line movement come down 2 or 3 points in the NFL, why is that? A lot of times it's not all predicated on money. It's predicated on players like Julian Edelman being out of the lineup. New England is really thin at the wide receiver position, and now they're without their best wide receiver. A lot of things to take into account here. This is not a game I'm going to use, but I'm going to be obviously very interested in watching. Back to you, Brad.
Chip, when was the last time the Bills were favored by 3.5 points over the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick as the head coach?
I can't remember. I'll tell you that Ross had all the stats, and he knows that Buffalo is 3-13 against the number the last 16 times they've hosted the Patriots. But this is a different Patriot team. Gone is Tom Brady, and gone are, say, the nucleus of what we've seen over the years. The thing that bothers me about this is Julian Edelman gets announced that he's gone, and the line drops 0.5 point from 4 to 3.5. I was first really concerned over the odds makers' respect for the Patriots, this line being so shallow at 4. From what I saw last week, I'm surprised and shocked that the Bills aren't 6.5 in this game. I think the past history has something to do with this line being where it is. Patriots, of course, now have their backs up against the wall. Cam Newton's being exposed, but they might be able to run the ball. This is a really tough call, and the number bothered me from the start. It makes me want to think that they're inviting you to take the Buffalo Bills after what I saw with the Patriots last week, and I just can't take the Patriots. So I'm going to pass on this game. I'm going to see what happens here. The Patriots are so beat up, and this number is so shallow. I really question why it is.
Louis D., Buffalo wants this game real bad. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Cusimano kind of hit the nail on the head. Buffalo's the one with the pressure here this week. But you still got to believe that there's a lot of pressure on Cam Newton. You saw what he said. He learned that there is no acceptance of losing in that New England area. So he is going to he's feeling some pressure as well. So, but I think the Bills really have the pressure because they're expected to do something here right now. And I don't know. I think the game smells. It was 3.5. You know how I will not lay 3.5 in the NFL, but it's now moved to 4 and in most spots. This is a tough game. The Bills are supposed to dominate, but Bill Belichick always has something up his sleeve. Obviously, the numbers are just so dominating, where he has owned Buffalo in a ridiculous way. So if you want to go lay them points with Buffalo this week, God bless you. I don't think it's a good move. I don't think New England's a good move at all. But the under probably may smell pretty good. Maybe a little smell on the under, but you're way behind the move, 45 down to 41. So you might be a little late on this game, but if you want to tease something, I'd probably maybe tease the under. That's about it for this game. I guess you think New England's going to probably beat them.
Hey, Brad, could I add something
Yeah.
in, please? I want to
Please
ask
do.
the other.
Please.
I want to ask you and the other guys. How stupid a statement was that by Cam Newton? Think about it. When losing is not acceptable in this area, it shouldn't be acceptable anywhere in the NFL.
Anywhere, in any sport.
Did you discover the wheel by saying losing is not accepted in the New England area? Well, was it in Carolina? Maybe that's why you're not there anymore, because you felt that losing was accepted. I'm just curious to hear you guys' thoughts on it. I thought it was such a, I don't want to call it ignorant because that's disrespectful. It was stupid.
I just think there's a lot less patience in these blue collar type cities like Philadelphia, like New England. They're going to hold your feet to the fire. And by the way, I don't think on this game the under is a play because, as was stated, the value has been sucked out. This number's now come down and it's too low. And we shouldn't get caught up with recency bias because a lot of the thought process going into Buffalo laying more than 3.5 or should be laying more than 3.5 has to do with New England getting blown out. The issue with the Bills is very simple. They cannot stop the Jets on Sunday, and the Jets were down 2 receivers. Perriman sustained a concussion during the game, and Crowder did not play. Sam Darnold had nobody to throw to after the Jets scored 10 quick points. They could not stop the run against the Chiefs. It was embarrassing, and the Chiefs lost their premium offensive lineman Schwartz during the game, still couldn't stop him. And last week, Frank Gore went off for 60 yards on, I believe, 11 carries. The Jets went off for 100 yards rushing on 22. When you can't stop the run, bad things happen. One prop I absolutely love in this game, and I played it, Cam Newton over 46.5, 47 yards rushing, because when a quarterback is struggling, and Cam Newton does like to take off, and he didn't have success last week, the first inclination is to run, especially when he doesn't feel confident in his throws downfield, which he does not. I think Cam Newton runs for 60, 70 yards this game, and I think New England absolutely could stay close here.
Thank you, Paul Bovi. Does anyone else have an opinion on Cam Newton's statement? I think we all agree that it was pretty ridiculous.
He put the pressure on himself. He put
Brad, it was
pressure on.
Go ahead. It was sort of like CYA. You know, he's covering his butt. He knows how bad he's been, and I think he realizes he can't play anymore.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, Paul makes a good point. The fire is a little hotter when you play in New England after all the success they've had over the last couple decades, and especially when you have a quarterback named Tom Brady under center. But by the same token, that's a statement that really shouldn't have been made. That just shows me, okay, it's time for me to have a little urgency now. You're getting paid multi-million-dollars, pal. I don't care who you're playing, what team you're playing on. You don't make a statement like that. Your urgency should win to win in the NFL is every week. So that's just my thoughts. But again, I thought I'd throw that out there, Brad.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your thoughts. We appreciate Louis Diamond, Chip Chirimbes. Special thanks to Paul Bovi and, of course, Tony Cusimano, the whole crew here, Eugene. Thank you for everything, Spotlight Film Productions. Have a wonderful day. Remember, bettercenter.com, YouTube at Louis Diamond, and also Facebook. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, breaking down college football. And yes, the redhead will be back, Tony Gullidge. All of us right here at Better Center Live. Have a lovely, lovely Friday afternoon. Bye-bye.